it seemed like as soon as I went to go to the apex with a little gas and an early turn in, I immediately went wide still.
Okay, I think you can just tell it to go narrower earlier and couple that with your trail brake. It's interesting because it looks like you're braking more than me, but yeah, actually look at the steering trace. The steering trace is the most obvious thing here, isn't it? I am definitely just steering it in earlier. So the blue line down here in all the early phase of the corner, all the way here, I've got a start with more steering angle, and I've still got more steering angle on when we get to here. Then we overlap because you start to run wide. But you start to run wide and then obviously start applying more lock. I've just done it earlier. That's really the main thing. So all the way back here, you see where the blue line is like aiming from right at the edge to there. That's the main thing. It's an aiming difference. I'm just going now, and you're just slightly later. So I think that's it. It's nothing more complicated than that. That I think then will allow you to carry that higher mid corner speed. But I'll watch you when you do it next time. We'll have a little watch. Just the last thing here. I just want to see what you're doing on the exit there. If I can actually click the right bit there. Okay, this is the other thing. When I get on the gas, I'm not getting to full power. Although you're getting to full power after you're back tight to the inside. So I guess that's fine. That's all completely fine. That isn't pushing you wide. The wideness has already been cured by the time you get on the throttle. So that's actually a bit of a red herring. I think it's mainly the steering down here. Okay, right, next bit. Really final corner. We've got very few corners to actually focus on here. This is quite nice. So 1 gear lower at turn 1. We didn't really look at this one, so let's have a little quick look at here. Okay, a more definite apex. So this is similar. This is similar to that one, but obviously it's a tighter corner, so it's going to look slightly different. Yeah, okay, you're going for a later, slower apex. I'm trying to just dive to the apex here and deal with what happens and just carry more speed across that curb.
Nice.
Yeah, you missed the curb. That's it. Let me get to the other view. Yeah, we just need to go earlier with the steering. And I bet when we look at the steering trace, it's going to show that same thing. This is much more subtle, but the difference is 7 degrees versus 1 degree. And here 8 degrees versus 17 degrees. And then I don't need any more here. This point, now you're cranking it on, but I don't need it because I'm already angled towards the curb. So that's why I've now got less steering on. Now you start to crank yours on, but it's like it's too late to make it to the apex, if you see what I mean. And I'm dealing with oversteer. So the reason I'm turning away is because it's turning there too well, and I've got that oversteer. Again, a gear lower. I'm going down a gear. So turn 1 and turn 4. Try a gear lower for the rotation, because I'm going quicker, but a gear lower, which doesn't make any sense, except that means you're in a gear too high, doesn't it? Because it means your revs are going to be quite low. Good for traction on the exit, but I think you can just deal with that with your right foot instead and have better acceleration. Okay, so lower gear at turn 1, lower gear at turn 4, but mainly aim at the curb earlier. I need to get this view lower.
It's funny because I think that we actually, I don't know, I don't have the copy obviously anymore, but I think the last time we did turn 1, I was a gear lower than you, and you were a gear higher than me, and so then I went up to 3rd for the turn 1, and you
if there was more
said,
grip,
okay.
that would make sense. I think I'm just trying to deal with the grip that we don't have here.
Well, obviously I'm not.
Final corner, we're both in the same gear, so that's good. The final corner is simply that I slow down a teeny bit earlier, but then get on the power that bit earlier as well. So it is a similar thing in terms of making that curb, though. I'm very much trying to get to that curb. Let's just scoot to that, and then we'll look at yours. So even mine isn't great, though. So if I'm just that much on the curb, and your line looks way wider than mine, then you've definitely missed that apex on that lap. So let's have a look. Yeah, so that's such a big time loss because of the straight that follows it. So that's quite a straightforward one, isn't it? Okay, so we'll be slightly quicker through turn 1 because the gear lower will help your rotation, but treat the throttle very carefully when you get on it. Same thing into here, but just an earlier turn. So the line is the main thing into turn 4. The line is the main thing into turn... Is this turn 5? I guess it is, isn't it? I mean, unless that's turn 5. Whatever that one is. That long old uphill right-hander. Just earlier turn, tighter to the inside, smooth, back on the gas. You know what to do there. Leave this bit the same, because it's, much of a muchness. I don't think you really lose... Oh, actually, there's a loss here that I didn't see in the speed, because on the Delta, here you're 0.6, and here it's getting like worse and worse and worse. So let's take a quick look at what you're doing there, because that's interesting.
It's another corner that I have had a hard time with this low grip.
Yeah, okay. This is interesting. It didn't look like much on the speed, but now we've zoomed in. That whole bit there, I'm keeping the throttle on harder. Still a little lift, but you're being more careful down the hill here. Okay, so you've come out wider. I'll get back to the middle just to give me a little bit of a nicer line through here. It's really line that's allowing me to keep that throttle on harder down here. So let's see what it looks like as you exit this hairpin. Little lock up has probably pushed a little wide. Yeah, being in that position rather than like there makes this next one very hard. Doesn't matter so much when there's loads of grip, but there's just not loads of grip. I've got a feeling that lock-up pushed you wider than you'd maybe normally go. Because, normally you're on this bit here, or trying to be, and maybe just angled slightly further off. I think maybe you ended your rotation slightly sooner, just because you didn't, you weren't focused on getting back to the middle. So like you're kind of happy to end up here. I would just let it rotate slightly more, and then get on the gas.
I think I got nervous with the lock-up, and I thought I would straighten up and... leave a little bit of brake off, basically. In order to get my brake to tail off there completely, I needed to straighten the wheel.
So I also didn't get to that curb, but what I definitely did was be right the way out here on the entry to get a slightly nicer angle here. And so I never end up, where you went out to like the white line there? I'd never actually go quite that far, and then it only takes a small movement to the right to get to this nice position into here, and that just means I can go full throttle a little bit more easily, get a little bit closer to this curb here. It's tricky though, like you can see even there, look, my car is squirming, like sideways. It's going to go about now. I get like a little correction there. It is on the limit, but that does add up to quite a bit of time. Let's just go up here. Yeah, so I said I was right out of the grass on the entry. That does open it up a little bit for me, and that's why our lines kind of cross each other in the middle there. So if you can go a little wider, it's sketchy out there because it's so easy to touch the grass, but then do everything exactly the same as you're doing with the brakes. Like your brake trace always looks so similar to mine. You really do it the same, but it's that downhill positioning that then affects how hard you're able to give the gas all the way down here, and that's why we're losing whatever that is, 634, and then the braking point here. So that's another 0.2. God, what's difficult is there's a few things here, and all of them are quite hard to put into practice, and none of them are worth like half a second. They're like 2-3 tenths maximum. So you're gonna have to just nail it. Basically, you're gonna have to just get it right.
Easy.
Let's go try again. Now you've got slight direction. Probably the biggest things are turn 4 and turn 5 or 6 or whatever that is. Those are the ones I would focus on. And then if we can get those other bits as well near the end, great. But let's do these ones first as a focus.
Fine. I saw you're starting a racing league, huh?
Am I?
And didn't you set up like some sort of race? I don't know. I've not followed totally the.
Is this on iRacing?
Chats, but yeah.
It's just a subscriber one-off race. It's not a league so much. It's just a very non-important fun race, basically.
Am I? I didn't know I was.
Well, I could always have forgotten. Like, plenty of times people remind me of a thing that I'm doing. Yeah, that's open to anyone. That's just... There is a prize. I'm not sure how far away I want to mail the prize, but it could make its way to the US. I got sent this like gift pack Formula One trading card thing from a company. You know, they just sent it to me, and I don't really need it. It's just taking up space here, and it's very. I'm sure it'll mean something to someone. So I'm going to give that as like a bit of a trophy for this unimportant race.
It's so greasy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
It's
horrible.
just like
56 degree track temperature, centigrade. That's like a Fahrenheit temperature.
Yeah, this is gonna be mayhem when they actually race, because guys are not gonna be able to stay on the track.
When people start overheating the tires too, then it just gets worse and worse. It's going to be very tough, very very tough. Nice use of the curb there.
I intended to hit it, but
yeah, don't worry, don't worry. I really
track.
struggled as well. So I think we can still aim in a little earlier into that one. Lovely accurate apex there.
Did you see that?
Did you have a bit of a wobble? Oh, yeah, I think. Was that an off track or was that okay?
Well, I got an off track in the corner, but
oh yeah, sorry. I'm now just seeing your massive oversteer moment. Yeah. I think they tightened up the off track limit on the final corner. So you used to be able to go all the way off over that concrete, but now you can't. You get an off track for more than half the car.
I feel like I'm at the fair.
You actually managed to come off there pretty well. I don't think we got back to the middle quite early enough. That's going to be something we'll keep working on. My heart rate's higher in this session for some reason. It's because I'm like scared for you because I know how little grip there is. Oof. It was looking pretty good until then. I don't know what the delta was like, but the lap looked tidy.
Yeah, it was decent till then. It's so easy to make a little error and then you're 4/10 down.
Yeah. That's why, I kept doing more laps. I was like, I'm sure I can go quicker. And every time, one little error, lost it all.
No.
Oh, it's so annoying.
Ah.
Your first lap out of the pits was a better first lap, so that's a good starting point.
Looks pretty bad so far.
That looked like a more Brad turning point, at least, into there. I need to see the data to know whether it was
I'm so.
better.
Okay, let's see if I can actually put something together here. No, bad angles. I'm a half-second down on my delta already.
Okay, well, let's see what it's like in the parts that we were focusing on.
That's better.
It definitely looked better. Nice. Good effort there.
Nope, missed that.
Okay, there were definitely elements of that lap though that looked different. So maybe let's do another couple, but I don't really care about if the time itself is faster. I'd rather the bits we were looking at were different. But let's see.
It's like I'm slowing too much into turn one now.
Okay. Well, let's do maybe this and one more lap, and we'll take whichever one is most representative and dig into it. That looked nice. That was a nice sweep.
No. That looked good too.
that bit wasn't as good.
I took just a second to reset the car, and just that split second was enough to wash me out. Again, I got a track limit. I'm not quite sure why I'm getting that track limit. It seems like I'm doing like I've always done.
Yeah, they've definitely tightened up the track limit, so half a car is like the maximum now.
That's better. No!
Oh, up until then, I was quite enjoying that lap. Don't worry.
I had it.
Yeah, I thought you had it too. Right. Finish this lap off, actually. Just finish it off. I know obviously this one was going to be... The lap time's going to suck. But let's look at the first few corners on this one, because Let's just get this one on the board. Okay. If this one goes wrong, we'll look at the 136.9.
Okay. Boy, you can't miss a single thing.
You look good with the track limits that time. Okay, let's take that one.
Okay.
I know it wasn't quicker. Yeah, I know that wasn't quicker than your best, but I want to just see the parts that were quicker.
Okay. Fine. I'll stop. Boy, that was not even a hard corner before, and now it's tricky.
Right, let's take a look at that previous one. I'll just fill this in whilst we're waiting for that to load. I'm going to put a little date on here because we've already been here before. There we go, and let's add you to it. Okay, let's see. I'm interested to see if this looks different or not in certain places. So, well, you definitely got purple in the first sector, so that's good. Right, let's make her green. Right, where are we different? So, turn 1, it's not... Oh no, that is slightly better, isn't it? So you are slightly up after turn 1, even though the minimum speed's lower. Interesting, you braked... Am I reading this right? Oh, hang on, it's against... The red one is the benchmark. But yeah, it is quicker. You are quicker. For whatever reason, maybe distance, you are quicker at this point, slightly. Anyway, we weren't really focusing on that too much. This one we were. Now, you are going through the apex quicker of turn 4, but we're slowing it down more in order to do that. So, that's interesting. What's the time difference? Slight gain? Very slight gain over your previous? Mm-hmm. Okay, the time is there, isn't it? The time is on the way to the apex. So the line's sharpened up for sure. You can still go earlier. I think you can still go earlier to that apex and carry slightly more mid-corner. But you're coming off of it much better now. So that's good. But we just want to have the gain on the entry as well. We're giving away a bit too much on entry in order to have that exit. So I think, yeah, you can see where you're a bit tighter than me coming off the corner. I've gone in quicker and been happier to go that little bit wider there. But ultimately, you do end up slightly wider. It's just, as long as you've got it in the back of your mind, that the place where we're giving away a bit of time is, if I just zoom out, It's between there and there where the red dot is. It's like kind of mid-entry to middle of the corner. That's where we can be. Well, there we go. Let's look at that. Like 12k quicker. So just slightly quicker, just slightly more speed on the way in there. And I think you realised it because that you got on the power quite early as well. So if you just go faster there and don't get back on the power, that'll have the same effect, except you'll be gaining that time up to the apex. At the moment, I think you're slightly overslowing it and then making up for it with early power. But we've gone some way there. The middle of the corner is quicker. This is much better though. Much, much quicker through here. So what's the delta difference? So minus 128 and then by here. Yeah, so you've gained yourself a tenth or so through there. But we're slowing down a little early to do it. So we can go a tiny bit later on the brakes. A tiny bit later, which will mean a tiny bit longer, because I've got this extra little one here. But, I mean, in terms of the line, you're now roughly matching me there, aren't you? But not even roughly, pretty accurately matching me. So just slightly later off the throttle, but with the same line that you took there. Now you're used to just turning it in, do the same thing, just do it and come off the gas slightly later. It is 4-1. Okay, so it's like 25 metres or something. That's quite significant. So even if you went 10 metres later, that would be more time, for sure. But the line's much better, so that's good. And just looking at that, if I turned off the red line, this would look a bit closer now. What's funny is you're now doing exactly my technique through this corner. The one we said don't bother changing, you are now going in quicker into here and doing my... Well, I mean, actually slightly more exaggerated than me, I think, because you went in a bit quick. My slow at that one, fast in the middle, run a little bit wide, in fact, but more exaggerated. So yeah, you did what I'm doing, but to a much greater degree. And maybe, do we lose a bit of time? Yeah, is this where we start to lose time? Yeah, on the exit there. Yeah. From here onwards is where we start to lose. Yeah, because the red was much quicker off and tighter. Faster and tighter. So go back to what you were doing before through the fiddly bit in the middle. Because up right there, you're like 4 tenths up.
I made an error going.
It was here, wasn't it? Corner. Yeah, it was back here where it all started, wasn't it? We just went in a bit too deep. Yeah, you lifted very late for that. You were really late lifting for it. So that then knocked on the rest of it. This, let's see what happens here. Definitely came off better. I mean, your line on the exit is, again, maybe slightly too exaggerated in terms of how tight you are, but that's definitely helped you through here a bit compared to before. So we're losing less, for sure, through there. And we're still not quite as wide on the approach. You're wide at this point, but not at the last moment to kind of sweep in. But it's not bad at all. Like, it's slightly different to what I'm doing. That looks maybe too tight. That's all I'd say is that middle bit there is definitely hurting your exit slightly. But you've made a decent job of that, considering. Final corner. Final corner is actually slightly slower than before, but you are coming off better. So there's still some time to be had carrying more speed up to the apex. We're still not quite as tight. Remember, I thought I wasn't very tight, and you're still slightly wider than that. So there's a little bit more time through there. So what's main area of focus? Slightly more speed up to the apex of turn 4, just a little bit. Later lifting into turn 5/6, whatever that is. Just slightly later off throttle, but still maintaining that tight line. Don't cock up this bit, and then you'll be fine. Even if you just, on this one lap, if that's the only thing you hadn't done, like, if you hadn't done that, you'd have been quicker than before anyway. Yeah. So if we can just do those other things, even slightly better than you've already done them, and do this like you used to do it, then you've got loads more time. And you'll be well under a second off what I'm doing then. So I think we should just go do that again. So
okay.
Sorry to put you through this torture of driving this track in 100 degrees centigrade. But
it's terrible.
Let me just scoot forward. There we go.
Makes me lose my desire to race here.
Yeah, it's you should do Super Formula Lights or something where you've just got a bit more grip, but for the speed of the car.
That wasn't very smooth.
Oh, that middle of that corner. Middle of turn 3. It always does that. It tries to break away. It never used to.
Nope.
I think you can go a little earlier. Just a little bit earlier with the turn in. Like 5 meters. That looked nice into there. In fact, you could even start to pick up the gas a little earlier because you got that line so nailed that time. I still think a little earlier getting the nose in into that one. Hey, that's more like it.
Nope.
I felt on the entry that was slightly optimistic, that speed, but I was just like, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt, because if you make it, it's going to be really fast. Yeah, there was a point just after the apex where it was like, this isn't going to work, is it?
No.
It's okay. Let's
This
keep going.
is not
We've got
gonna
plenty
work.
of time. That was nice. That was sweet through there. Okay, so a little earlier this time. Don't worry about carrying tons of speed. It's more about the angle and the neatness. That's nice. That looked good. Okay, up until that corner, that looked like a nice lap. Try and get all the way up to that inside curve through there, because I have a feeling you got on the marbles that time. Just looking at that replay, we were pretty wide through there. I think you were just wide enough to pick up a load of dirt. I know it gets sideways there anyway. I can't see any dirt, but we were a good 1.5 car widths away from the inside all the way around there. Apart from that, though, that looked like a decent lap.
Boy, just the teeniest little mistake costs you, doesn't it?
Yeah. Again, your line into there is getting like so much better. Every lap now, it looks really good. So I still think you can get closer to the inside.
That was basically drifting.
Yeah. Yeah, so we need a little more speed scrubbed off in the final corner before you do your main turn in. And in the corner before that, the downhill left, just hug the left a little bit more. Considering how much time we left on the table on that lap, to be only 1/10 off your best, that's good. Like, there's a lot of time you'll find as soon as we do a clean one. Nice. Nice into there. Right, in this downhill left, make sure we do get to the apex. Nice one.
A little cautious, but
yeah, yeah, exactly. No, well, it was cautious, but that's okay. Like, you can be less cautious on that line because it will just stick a bit better. It still won't be easily flat or anything like that. Okay, that's a nice chunk.
The guy behind has just done a 118.1.
So maybe let's do one or two more, but we've got something there to look at for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, every lap now, the line into there looks like I want it to look, so that's really nice. Don't be too greedy on the brakes for the hairpin this time. Don't forget that apex through there. Should we take the lap before this one? Should we just give you a little break?
Sure. I tried to save that, but
It's okay.
it just wasn't quick enough.
Right, so just before we look at that, I just want to show you what you just did. This was the lap you were just on, because it looked
Hold on
pretty
one
decent.
second. Where's my cursor? Where is my cursor? There it is.
So
Okay.
up until here, this was the lap you just did. Up until here, this was quite nice. I quite like this lap. It's just this slightly delayed turning left into this downhill left where you're never anywhere near the inside. Like, you can be less... If you get it to there, you can afford to be less cautious. I think it's only... If you're tracing this slightly wider line all the way around, you're just out on the dirt and the rubbish, and you have to be more careful, and you're travelling further, obviously. So just make a point of, when you're in this position here, because this is all lined up nicely, just, like, get to that curb. Like, touch that white line with your inside left. It should go there. If you tell it to go there, it should go there for sure. Right, let's look at... Because you did it on the previous lap, I think. Hang on, if I go here. We got there a little late, actually.
Almost.
But you did get there. I think you can get there where this black begins, where this rubbery bit here begins, just after that. So, like, maybe here we want to be on the inside from. But at least on that lap you did it, for sure. Right, anyway, let's look at the data. So, let's take the 18.1. That is still a pretty big chunk of lap time. Here we go, a couple of purple sectors. Right, let's get rid of the red one. We can go in the bin. Okay, so now I'm blue. wrong button. There we go. Okay, so yeah, so your quickest one is the pink one. Let's have a look. Let's go through the corners. So, turn 1, you are braking nice and late. You're quicker than me through the middle, and although this bit here is a little slower, you are actually coming off faster here and maintaining it. So I'd say that's good. You're not losing any significant time. You're 300ths down as we get down this next straight. So nothing to worry about there at turn 1. This is way better. Because if you remember, the green line here was your improved line through there. I think you're now quicker than me through here. Let's have a look. So we are 0.24 behind, but 0.24 here. You are now quicker than me through there. So that's good. There were like 3 laps where it looked great through there. You're now matching. So we're now a good third into the lap, and you're still only 300ths off my best time there. So really, really good so far. We're all the way up here, though. In fact, we're like a third plus into the lap. Mm-hmm. And now here through this fast uphill right. We're still under a tenth off at this point. By the time you brake for this hairpin, we're under a tenth. So this is much improved. Like, this whole first bit of the lap is great. You're not doing it exactly the same as me, but within reason, this is totally fine. Mm-hmm. Like, I'd be happy with that. I think you then went in a little bit deep into here on this lap. So we haven't nailed this on one of the laps where everything else was good. So this is where obviously we start to make a loss. You make a big gain and then obviously a subsequent 3/10 loss because of that. Yeah. And it ends up at more like 2/10 by the time we get to the exit. So it's like a net 2/10 that you're losing there just because you're being a little bit. It's not massively late on the brakes, but you are late off the throttle, if you see what I mean. I'm kind of winding down on the gas and then ramping up on the brakes because I know it's so slippery there. I'm not doing the typical bam, single seater off the throttle hard on the brakes. I'm rolling off the accelerator here to get the car flat and then rolling on pretty firmly but still smoothly like you are onto the brakes. The difference here is all of your laps, you're much more like late off the throttle, and then look at this point here where you start to brake, you've still got like 54% throttle. So I think you can settle the car a little earlier there and you'll reap the rewards through the middle, because I suck at this corner, really. I feel like I'm always doing it badly, but you're always trying to rush in much faster than me, and I'm just focusing on being tight at this point. Mm-hmm. Tight there, and not just that, tight there and going slow enough so that you don't run wide on the exit. It's fine to be tight there, but if you then go deep, you've kind of wasted it. So that's really the thing that we said not to worry about after the first run. That's now the thing we just need to perfect that. And it's mainly a case of not rushing the entry, because your brake trace is great. It's just, I think you're just staying on the power too long and trying to brake that bit. You're not trying to brake too late, but it's kind of that effect. You're staying on the power. You're faster than me at the time when you do brake. So effectively, you are braking too late for your speed, because you're like a few K quicker than me and braking at the same point. So anyway, that's that bit. That's where we lose those couple of tenths. And then from this whole first half of the lap, where there's basically no time loss, we have a little chunk of time loss, and then a real kind of linear, more and more and more and more, all the way to here. So what's going on with this bit? Okay, so we're talking about into the second hairpin here. Okay, you can still afford to go slightly wider on the entry and slightly less tight on the exit. So it's wider on the entry and wider on the exit. This is where we were slow. And you said it yourself, you were cautious. So that's the tightest you've been. You know, I said it looked like you were getting tight a little bit late. And it kind of is there. I'm from about here and then running wide, and you kind of got there late. That's the one we need to practice on, because actually you were only under 3/10 off at that point. And then by the time we brake for the next corner, we've lost another 1/10 or so. So, and that's just from not committing to the throttle as hard. You're like only full throttle briefly here and then there, whereas I've got quite a long section of full throttle, less of a lift, and then another longer section. So it can be done. You've just got to get the line right and be ready for that little correction, or preempt the correction and do that little lift. Like we both are. You're just doing it more cautiously than me. We're both expecting the same thing. It's just I'm kind of letting the grip go, letting the grip work for longer, taking the strain off of it with that little half lift, and then just trusting it for the rest. And then final corner, you're much better, much better, like way quicker through the middle. When you got that right, you got that really right. So Okay, so what's our overview to do on this one? Basically, don't change anything now for the first half of the lap until that hairpin, where we need to be just more cautious. Roll off the throttle earlier, get the brakes on smoothly, focus on that hairpin much more than carrying the speed for as long as possible. Yep. And then exit of this hairpin here, you can afford to start a little bit wider and go a little bit wider on the exit, and then just carry more throttle through this long left. Get to the apex earlier, stay there, then flow wide and don't lift for as long. That's it. And it's all stuff I'm sure you're actually trying to do anyway. But now let's just go one more time and try and nail it, because you actually have really, really improved the rest of the lap. Like without that big chunk of time loss, that would be a 17 easy, like a really, really good 17. So let's just go do that. I have a feeling that if you get these conditions nailed for this week's event, next week, you'll actually be able, despite it being horrible to drive, you'll be able to score some very good results, because other people will not put this kind of effort into like getting their head around these conditions. So this is good.
It's funny how different it is from the last time we drove here, where just the temperature, I mean, it's obvious, right? Temperature affects grip level, but...
Yeah, it's just really bad, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh. I missed a shift.
My eyes got quite wide there when you went over that curve. It's nice that you've now got a feel for what that entry speed should be like, because it really shows in the data. And that line as well, like, it looks like natural now. Oh, so much nicer.
I don't know why I shifted there. That was stupid. I got a track limit there. Not quite sure why I get that.
Well, I'll show you on the replay afterwards. I'll show you how much you can get away with. Every lap, the line looks good into there now.
Not still quite what I had in mind.
Yeah, still a tiny bit quick on the approach there. I know you know it, but you don't have to try and go quick into that hairpin. You'll almost always lose more time than you gain. I think a little tighter to the apex there. Last corner looked pretty decent there as well. Good line on the approach to the apex.
no.
That felt a bit quick in the braking zone. I have to say, I was waiting to see what happened, but it felt like we were travelling faster at each relative point of the braking zone than we normally would be. Well held.
I cut the track again.
Yeah, it's just where you open up the final corner. It's a very, very fine line, so don't worry, I'll just show you the exact amount. You can use some of the concrete, just not a full car width.
It's so easy to get turn one wrong with the lack of traction. It's crazy. I don't know why I went down to first. Okay.
Very tidy first corner there.
Better. I slowed a little bit too much.
Yep. Your exit was too easy that time, wasn't it?
Doesn't take much to go deep.
No,
there.
the unsettling that you got on that curb on the way into that corner stopped the braking being as severe as it normally would be, and you just then arrived like 5 kilometers an hour too much speed. That's it. Yeah, you can do it. Nice. That was a decent line through there. I think we kept the steering angle on a bit long that time. I was waiting for you to reduce it, and it just seemed to stay. I'm going to just watch it back. Yeah, there was a point like deep into the corner where it was like, we can probably get this lock off now, and we stayed on, and then it was just a bit too late.
I felt it too, because I started to basically drift through the corner, and I was like, why did I leave that steering angle on there?
You had the right amount of angle on for the initial phase of the corner, but then it was like, right, you can run wide now, and you tried to force it to stay a bit tighter than it could. I think we should do another 3 laps.
Okay.
Lovely. Nice one. So that didn't feel like you overslowed it that time. That felt quite nice. Yeah, really nice effort. The last lap and a half looks really good.
No, I got a little deep.
It's okay, keep going. Well done for getting the lock off slightly earlier that time. Right, let's do like 1 or 2 more laps. Let's see how this next one goes. Nice, 17. Good stuff.
I gave up a little bit on the entry.
Yeah, we went in slightly late to the apex. It wasn't the normal narrow one, but it's okay. You gave up loads of time in the hairpin on the last lap, so go tidy this time. Well done. Oh, nice. That was very much on the limit on the way through there. Good stuff. I think we should take that as our lap. I think that was tidy as. Feel free to carry on and see if you... I was going to say, see if you nail this one, but I don't think it's going to be the one now.
No. It was, but I got a little greedy.
Okay, right. Let's get that last fast one up there. So your average time is obviously down massively. Like, even laps that you consider a bit messy or not quite right, it's still way better in general than they were earlier on. So that's a good start. Let's take that 17.9. I'll load it up as a video, but let's get the data first off. We'll start making some notes on that one. Some of those things you were doing in the last couple of runs there were just consistently so much better than on the earlier runs. So let's get rid of some of these confusing ones. So I'll get rid of this one first, and we will ultimately get rid of your 18.1 as well, because you know you're so much closer. The 17.7 is very close to my time now. Okay, so just before we delete that 18.1, let's just have a little look at the comparison. So the green one is now the fastest one. You were totally right. You know when you said you gave up a bit of time into turn 4? Like, very obvious on this one, because you were 200ths up on me at that point, and then we end up a tenth or so down afterwards. So yeah, just slightly overslowed. If we were comparing that to one of your earlier runs, though, that would still look good. It's just you've done it better than that now. And you can see from the line, you know, I said you went in a little bit late on that lap. You can just see it wasn't quite as shallow and narrow as it was before. So that means you have to lose out on some of that early turn speed. So that's fine. Just be careful of that. I won't make notes yet. I'll just look at the rest of the lap, and then we'll make notes on the green versus blue. Okay, so hairpin after this, definitely better at this point here. Obviously looking at the green. Yeah, pink, you managed to go through here quicker than normal, so that's good. Okay, so the green one, you overslowed a little, and we do start to creep up on the time there. So I wonder what happened. Why were we slower? Was it just slightly harder braking here? Maybe. I think maybe just a tiny bit of extra caution just here for whatever reason. So, okay, so start of the lap was great. Lose a tenth into turn 4. We lose a little bit in this uphill, but I think we would have considered that good earlier. You didn't let it flow as wide, so I think maybe just here to here, where the green is like not maximising the amount of throttle that you could have given it, because you probably didn't want to run out on that curb and sacrifice the entry to the hairpin again.
Yeah.
That's where a little bit of time's lost. But I think you're about to gain a chunk of time back. Yeah, you are. Like, into the hairpin here, this was much better. Just so much tidier. I mean, look at it compared to the pink line. Like, so much tidier through here that... So, versus me... You, as a kind of overall thing through here, you gain on me. So, if we say there on the entry, like 2 tenths back, by here, you've gained a tenth and a bit. So, actually, when you nail that, you gain loads of time. Like that, so that's better than me now. Okay, let's go on here. So second hairpin. We went in a little slow, but went through the middle really nice and fast. So actually, again, by here, you're now basically level with me. And then we lose a little bit on exit. Okay, that's fine. We're down to 2 tenths. You've still got more caution than me here on the throttle, but nowhere near as much as before. Like, you get to full throttle, have a bigger lift, and that's obviously why we lose a little bit more time. And then final corner. Okay, you went in nice and fast. What happened here? We pushed a bit wide. Maybe we just went in a tiny bit too fast. Yeah, you're a little quicker than me on the way in. And I think it was just a fraction too fast. This here, like, you were leaning on the throttle 5%. I think that's what's pushed you deep. I think you just had like a foot just resting on the throttle pedal. Because you were doing it before, actually, like with the pink line. And I think that might have pushed you deep, because you're matching me almost kilometre an hour for kilometre an hour, but you then go wide. I think it's because you've got this little bit of gas. You're overlapping the throttle and the brakes into there, so just be careful that you're not doing it by mistake, that's all. Because apart from that, like without that loss, you'd have ended
It's tricky
like
because sometimes I feel that overlap. Not there, but if I had to overlap a little bit later, it picks up traction on my front right tire.
Okay.
But
it's not a stupid idea. It's just, I think on this lap, that's the reason it went a little bit deep just there. But you're still so much better. And then obviously we ended like 4 tenths. So I think you probably were in 2 tenths rather than 4 tenths. But let's get rid of that pink one. I'll make me pink, so it's a really nice contrast. There we go. But before we do that, I want to show you the track limits on that final corner.
Yeah.
So just before I forget to do it. So that's where you went out. I think you can get away with a bit more. A little bit. Not a lot, just a little bit. Let's see, am I any wider than that? So you are... your tail light is basically just off the white line. So your tail light is like on the first bit of asphalt there.
And that's clean, or that's...
I think that was clean, yeah. I don't think you got an off track, did you, for that last lap? You can tell me. Was that a...
No, I did not get an off track for the last lap.
Okay, so that's fine then. And let's just see if you can go any wider than that. A tiny bit. Yeah, so I'm like 1 tail light width further out, and I also didn't get an off track. So I think as long as your left tyres are within this white line, you're okay. If you then go all 4 wheels out, let's look at one where you got an off track. Let's look here, because I can see all your laps, can't I? Oh, maybe not there. Because it does tell me on here. I have to go on this screen. So this one here, for example, this one that says off track. So it's 19.2. That one, 19.228. So this one you did get an off track. Oh my god, it's like so close. They're so similar to what I did. I'd say that's like half an inch wider. Like your tyre is like if you were looking from above, it's probably just touching the white line. So basically, you've seen what the safe limit is there. If you're like, if that white line's down the middle of the car, you're definitely safe. And if the white line is a fraction offset to the driver, you're safe. Any more than you're not. So
you're screwed.
Okay, let's go back to this. Okay. Right, okay, so let's just start and just make a couple of notes. So I think we can basically say up to here, this is great because you're quicker than me. So far, you're... Right, that's good. Then here, this is where we just have to stay on top of it because most laps you were great. Oh, my steering wheel.
Would you put a note on turn 1 that
Yep.
when conditions are cooler with more grip, it might be third gear instead of second gear?
Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, so turn 1. In cooler conditions, this might be third instead of second. Sweet, okay. This was reasonably good until about here on this lap. Let's just zoom in. I think it's this. I think we were just a teeny bit too hard on the brakes this time.
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's a combination. On this particular lap. But this wasn't actually bad. Just not perfect. And you did it better on other laps, so you know you're very, very close. You're doing the right thing. It's just like it wasn't the best possible balance you've done through there. This, however, was excellent. So this section here, I'm just going to give you a green tick. Try to focus on doing this twisty section like you did it on this lap. This is really good. Like it's just not going in too aggressively. I mean, look how tight it is, and that looks really good. Okay, final section, final hairpin. I still think there's scope for being a little wide. Look how close our brake trace is, and your throttle trace. It's so similar.
Pretty much exact.
I still think there's scope for approaching slightly wider, but it's not really costing you a great deal. I don't think. It's this exit. Why do we lose? I'm going to put it in anyway because even though you're going in slightly slower, this phase here, you are going a bit quicker and you lose out on the exit. And you do, from this point onwards, you do lose a couple of tenths. So I think it's worth just making a note just here. Because you can probably carry that speed if you start slightly higher up. Every time I rode on board with you, it felt like I was being dragged towards the apex earlier than my brain wanted me to be, just a little bit, and that's what the lines show.
That comes from fear of that washout when the
Yeah.
low grip.
Yeah, I just think that's all well and good until there, where you've suddenly got to apply more lock than me. Because if you look at the steering trace down here, when you get to here, I'm using less steering than you. In fact, my peak is all of my steering is less than your steering, like all the way through that corner. So actually, I'm less likely to wash out than you because my average angle is less all the way to here, and it helps with the traction on the exit because the car's straighter at this point, whereas yours is still rotating here. And it's only by here that we cross over and we're at like the same lock again. So you've had to use more steering angle for quite a long time, and obviously there you had a little bit of a wobble. That's the only thing there. This is definitely an area to work on, but it's dangerous. So there is lap time here if you can cope with the exact right amount of anticipation of the inevitable on throttle oversteer. So when I was watching you through here, the thing that I was thinking as you came through this corner and you had this lift was you're perfectly justified in anticipating early that the rear's going to move and, you know, reducing the throttle like that. But you're still accelerating, so you're still, you know, your speed's still going up and up and up and up. And the further through the corner you get, the more downforce is on you. So at this point, you can cope with more throttle than at this point because, you know, it's going to accelerate less aggressively because you've already built up higher in the revs. You know, you're already going quicker, so it can't physically accelerate as quick as it can from here to here, obviously. Plus, there's more downforce, so you don't have to, when you come off this much off the throttle, you can start to think about reapplying it, you know, gradually, but you can start reapplying it rather than here where you kind of have this secondary confidence lift just there. So just try and just keep at the forefront of your mind that between here and here, like, you've increased speed, so there is more downforce acting on the car, and you're probably starting to reduce the steering angle too. So you've got more throttle potential at this point than you do at this point. So just that's my way of trying to reduce how much I'm lifting through there. It's only at the really tight bit where it can break away and the revs are really ramping up and you're not going that quick. Yeah, you have to anticipate it. But after that, you can start to squeeze it back on. I think that's where our gap comes here, if you see what I mean. I think that's why mine carries on that bit higher. And final corner. Oh, yeah, it was this little throttle overlap here that we were going to talk about. So, final corner looks basically perfect, except that you get pushed a little deep. I suspect the 5% throttle overlap is what caused that. So basically just try and be fully off throttle on this crucial phase from there to there where the car's like trying to head into the corner. I think that's the only reason you push slightly wide, and obviously then it just means you don't come off quite as quick. But
yeah.
It's a really good effort though. I'm impressed that you came back from such a, you know, we had a relatively big gap, like a second-ish on quite a short lap, with quite hard gains to make because it's just so slippery. You know, you try harder and you go slower because you're slow.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I think that's a decent effort to get that close. You know, you're pretty bloody close to me there. So, and it's obvious where that is. You know, you can basically match me in the first half of the lap, no problem. So if you can fix those bits in the second half of the lap, then you're going to be rapid here. And then you just need to keep it on track. So, and let everyone else fall off because they're all gonna cock this up massively. But yeah, there we go. That's it. Sorry I was late.
Oop,
And
hopefully not